What is up, everyone? My name is Cameron Peck, and I am recording, talking about this book called Better Than Carrots or Sticks. Now, this book it had a ton of input from a ton of different educators, but the authors that all work together to take the input of educators are Dominique Smith, Douglas Fisher, and Nancy Frey. So I apologize, I'm recording using Zoom so that I can use the video later on. I couldn't figure out how to screen record on my laptop. So this book, just to start off, is a book that really addresses classroom management and what that looks like. It kind of addresses some of the different things that we've seen teachers do for years that may not work as well, or that may not be the best method of doing so. And so this book addresses a ton of things. And if I were to talk about everything that it addressed, we would be here for forever. And so I picked out some of the key things that it really hits hard on. And then I picked out some of my favorite things that I just wanted to address. And I want to talk about what this says, but I also want to bring in some outside sources, some things that you can use in your future classroom, some different things that address some of the topics that this book talks about today. And so it goes from a wide variety. It goes into the teacher, it goes into the students, and it just addresses some big topics that you'll be confronting as a teacher and things that will come up in your classroom, and really what role you play as a teacher and what that means for you and for your future. And so I loved this book. If you like anything that I talk about today or are interested in classroom management, it's pretty short. It didn't take too long to read. But it was super good, super helpful, and I loved looking into it. And then, talking to other teachers. My mom is a kindergarten teacher, so just talking to her about some of this stuff and seeing any stories that other teachers that are in your life may have about certain things that this book talks about. So this is an awesome book. I definitely recommend it. The first thing that I wanted to talk about within it is rules and procedures, and just kind of talking about in a classroom when you're with kids, the importance of having structure and setting up a structure for your students. And that's from ages kindergarten all the way through high school. And so you may be thinking back to being in high school, being in elementary school, and some of the worst teachers or your least favorite might have been the ones who were all about the rules, who were super strict, who were super on top of you. And nobody really likes to like strict teachers, right? And so this isn't really talking about the importance of being strict in a way, but being able to have that relational, like you can of course have like a wonderful, encouraging, positive classroom environment without while still having structure. And so it just kind of talks about like a kid's dream is kind of like, you think of like freedom and doing whatever you want, but this book talks about how important it is to have structure. Like kids and just students of all ages, just they yearn for structure of some kind. And you're going to see all different kinds of learners in your classrooms, like different thinkers, different types of learners. And so this book just talks about how having that structure and having rules and guidelines and procedures, and that they'll be rock solid rules and procedures, and that you follow them through and don't just put them out there, but they also are like the students know that these are the rules and this is the structure. And so I was just thinking of just bringing up some different things that you could do for rules and structure in your classroom. One thing for maybe more of an elementary level is kind of just like a classroom weekly or daily planner. So I was talking to a friend of my mom's that is a teacher. She's a second grade teacher, and she has a son who is, what is so important to him is a schedule. And so just kind of dealing with just some like mild anxiety in the class whenever they're unsure of what's next. And you're going to find so many students coming into your classroom that need that structure and need to know what their day is going to look like. And so here it's kind of hard to see, sorry. It's just like a guideline of what a weekly agenda would look like. And so just as a teacher, just taking a couple minutes each morning just to write out a schedule, or even just, I've seen teachers put it up on the board, put the schedule for the day, go over the schedule for the day in a morning meeting. And then once you identify those students that really lean on that structure and that schedule, you can have them print this out for them, have them have their own planner that they fill out every single day. And that will help tremendously in just that anxiety of what's going to happen next, and them knowing what's going to happen and be able to mark those things off their list throughout the day. Having a planner is just so important. And this book just talks about the importance of having that structure, and of course being relational, and of course bringing out that creativity, but having a structured schedule, having rules that are in place that aren't going to bend for your students. And so that's just one way that you would be able to do that in your future classroom. So then what is next is students that make or teachers that make their students feel important. And so your students, every student that walks into your classroom wants to be known. They want to be recognized in your classroom, known by you. And, they're just going to think that you're the best, that you're like a superhero. You're a role model for them. And those teachers that weren't for you, you know why? Because they didn't value you and who you were. And so it just talks about that in a big way. And so one thing that kind of still ties into that structure and being able to have something that is set in place that also makes your students feel known is this really fun activity from my mom, who's a kindergarten teacher. It's these pencils that have students' names on them. And so the reason that they are pencils is you're able to put them into a cup and then have the eraser side facing up. And so you pick one of the erasers and you read the name. And when that student answers a question, like you'll do it when you ask questions or to choose someone for an example or something like that in the classroom. And when you read that name and they get volunteered for it, you turn the pencil upside down. And so you know that you recently called on that student. And so it just makes it so every student feels like they're getting called on. Every student feels known, that their input is valuable. And so that's just a fun way of making a student feel known, while also having structure, and that they know that they can be called at any point for being able to be an example or answer a question in the classroom. And so another thing is there's fun little things that you can do, which I'm sure so many of you have seen, to just celebrate students in your classroom. That makes students feel known by their peers, that makes students feel known by you, and just brings out talents that they have. And that it just talks about how important that is from you as a teacher, and how you as a teacher set the example for other students, and how your community in your classroom truly is. And so one thing that my mom was talking to me about when I was asking her about this, as a kindergarten teacher, she does something called the Lucky Ducks, which this isn't an exact example of what it looks like, but my mom's, she has a board in her classroom and it has everyone's name, and there's a lucky duck that is on the board, and every single day it moves in a specific order. Again, kind of part of structure, like you get to see ahead of time when you're going to be the lucky duck, like, oh, in 5 days I'm going to be the lucky duck. And when you are the lucky duck, you get a little rubber duck that goes on your desk, and every little task, every little thing that the teacher needs help with, you're the lucky duck. And so you get to do all those things. So like turn on the lights, be in the front of the line, run to the office and grab something. And it just makes that student feel known and feel special for that day when they get to do those different tasks. And then also another thing that I've seen other teachers do is a student spotlight. And so a student spotlight is a board in your room or a little poster that you make and update maybe weekly, maybe every other week. And so a student gets picked each week, and they get to put on this board. You'll make the board for them, but they get their name put on this board. And then it says little things like fun facts about them, about their family, where they grew up, and then their favorite things. And so everyone passing by gets to see and read the board about one of their peers. And then whenever their time comes, they get to feel important and feel special as people get to see the different things about them. And so that's just a super fun idea of showing students how important they are, not only from your perspective, but from the community in the classroom that you have around them. And so those are just some ideas of taking what this book told us about classroom management and how having a positive classroom environment is so important. Those are just some really fun things that I've been able to see in other classrooms and hear from other teachers talking about what this book addresses in an awesome way. And then, so another thing is, as a teacher, letting your students teach you about their self-interest and about them. And so throughout a year, throughout a semester, like right in the beginning, it's your job as a teacher to get to know each and every one of your students and just how important that is. Like being able to make a student feel known, feel loved by you, and that you truly know them and don't just, as a teacher, it's easy to just get caught up in how are you doing, but truly be able to know them. One cool thing that I found in being able to do that is an activity where students drew a picture of themselves and then are able to fill out some information about themselves, some of their interests, and then just putting that all up on a board. And that could be like a beginning of the year activity, and something that right off the bat, you're able to see, okay, this is what this student likes, and something that you could bring up with them and that you can make sure to highlight about that student as the year goes on or as the semester goes on. And so just how important it is for you to get to know your students and for them to feel loved in that way. And so that's just another awesome idea that I found. There's so many cool things that you can find on the internet, that you can find just talking to teachers that you work with, or teachers that you know in your life. They'll have some awesome pointers and some awesome ideas for you. But yeah, just highlighting how important it is to be known. One of my favorite things that it kind of talks about at the end of this book is, as a teacher, how students need a mentor. And you especially see this in high school, where I can think of a mentor I had, my teacher, Mrs. Wixon, who's my Spanish teacher, and just how important she was for me in high school. You'll especially see that in secondary ed, but you'll also see that in elementary ed, where they're going to look to you as a mentor. Like they're going to look up to you and see how you respond to things, your actions, and just how much that can have an impact on each and every student. And so one thing that I found, Ellen loves to highlight teachers on her show, and there's some awesome videos that she has that just highlight some amazing teachers that impact their school and their community and each and every student in such a big way. And so I wanted to share one of a teacher that was on Ellen with you guys that I just thought was perfect for this book, and showing and highlighting teachers and teachers that care about their students.
If you hear me say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, when I came to South Green, the school was so bad at one point in time that we used to meet in class and pray before the day. There's barbed wire surrounding the school. There's a graveyard across the street, completely worn down neighborhoods. We would love to say that everybody's on the same playing field, but at our school, they're just not. Poverty has this way of disrupting the brain. Trying to teach a kid that doesn't have a home and is hungry is a different ballgame. And when it shows up in your classroom, you have to find a way to continually fight and persevere. Turn to your partner and say, hurry up, bro. Hurry up. And when I taught the who, what, when, where, and why standard, my kids did not do well on it at all, on the assessment. So I needed to find a way to reach them. Music is something that always gets them going. It gets Ellen going. That's how she starts her show. So I decided to, hey, I should probably make a song about this standard. Actually writing the lyrics, shooting it, editing it. So I said, okay, we may have something here. They passed with like flying colors. I didn't expect it to go viral. This kid walked up to me and was like, Mr. Barnes, you see our video on Facebook? We're famous now. But for them to get that kind of attention for passing the test and to see how people were proud of them, like their self-esteem, their face just started brightening up and they just started to own it. So the video is more than just dance. It's sort of a celebration of the fact that, hey, this school is finally making a change. They're turning the corner. The kids are starting to read. They're starting to defeat those statistics. The most important thing I want them to take away is that they're responsible for their own actions. When they leave me, they still have a self-obligation to make the right choice to ensure they have a great future.
Mr. Bonner taught me that I am smart. Mr. Bonner taught me I am strong. Mr. Bonner taught me that I am cool. And I want to be a president when I grow up.
That video is one of my favorite videos. Whenever I see that, every time, it's got to make you smile. Just seeing how he has such an impact on those kids and how those kids look up to him in a big way. And just the things that he says to them, things that he teaches to them, showing them that they're valued you can see that they truly feel that. And that is something that they're going to remember forever. Way down the road, they're going to think about Mr. Bonner and how he had such an impact on them in their lives. And so this book just talks about the importance of structure, the importance of classroom management, but really, really highlights on how you are a mentor. Like, you are someone who's going to pour into their life. You are someone who needs to build up every student that comes into your life. And he knew that those students had a rough background, and that poverty was something that you couldn't just ignore, because there's something that was affecting their brain, affecting the way that they learned. And so just as a teacher, how huge of a task it is to take on, how big of a job it is, and how important it is to let your students feel loved. And so this book is something I would recommend to any of you, recommend any teacher to read. It's such an awesome book that really just addresses what the most important parts of teaching are. And you can prepare yourself through taking all these classes in college and at the university, but man, getting out there and just being selfless and having a heart for those kids, that's what's truly important. And so that was just an awesome recording I wanted to share with you guys, having to do with this book. And just to wrap up for commenting on this, some questions that I'll have for you guys to answer is, first off, what do you think is the most important piece of classroom management? What is something that when you think classroom management, you think that as a teacher, you will have this in order to be able to manage your classroom and keep a structure? Next one is personal question, just to hear from you guys. Who was your favorite teacher? It could be kindergarten through high school. Who's your favorite teacher and why? What was it about them? What was it about them and the way that they taught you and impacted you that made it so you still today think of them as one of your favorite teachers? And then in your opinion, what is the most important part of being a teacher? And that may come from who your favorite teacher was, but like, what is that thing that motivates you, that makes you passionate about being a future teacher? And it may be the way that you teach, it may be just students you've worked with, but what is that one thing that really makes you passionate about your future and what you're doing? Thank you guys for watching, and I really recommend Better Than Carrots or Sticks. It's an awesome book. Hope you guys have an awesome time, and hope quarantine is going well.